coincidentally, I was going to be in San Francisco the next week, so I said, I'll come and meet with you. And I came and met with them, and it was definitely like, they were definitely testing me. I think they tested me for a good like 9 months. Not that I was applying for a job or anything, they were just testing me as an individual. And I went and met with them, and it was really, I mean, the thing that really, really struck me was when I went and met with them, and a month later, we do an annual think tank out in San Francisco, where a lot of the leaders that we work with are brought in from around the country. And all of a sudden I was sitting in this room where I had been like, literally, I've been in law school when I first kind of thought about this project, sitting in a university library such as this, researching old books and reading, like a lot of the stuff you guys are all talking about today, just researching and researching and researching and thinking, what is this project? And then all of a sudden I was sitting in a room with people like Louis Gordon and others, and Rabbi Fanyay, and people that I had just been reading about and all of a sudden actually had access to, and just sat back and really took it all in. And for me at the time, I was just working on a project that didn't really have a mission per se. And over time of, you know, this is a little bit of how I got involved in it, over time of just personally, which I think many of us are probably all here because of our personal connection in the end. Yes, it's part of our work, but there's something in us that brings us to feel very connected to why these issues and discussions are important. And I felt the same way. And we really felt like, you know, that connecting people was one of my strong points, and felt very interested in helping to expand that model, bringing people together, and dealing with a lot of the education, which I think is a lot of what we've been talking about today, but also dealing with a lot of the isolation, which is a very real part of the issues we're talking about as well. And thinking about how, you know, Lashon I was very, very impressed with, because I think as an organization, it's a professional organization based out of San Francisco, but that was doing work around the world, really supporting a model of leadership and supporting academics and community leaders and a variety of different people to make sure that this important work was done, and supporting them in very real ways. And that was really, really important. But then there was also this community model that was existing in San Francisco and wasn't really spreading. Like, so people were familiar with the work Lashon was doing, but not necessarily the name. And so one of the things that I have come upon and done, and kind of taken Lashon as just a San Francisco organization, and working with some other great leaders in other regional areas. Rabbi Fanyay is working in Chicago, we have somebody in LA, somebody in the Southwest, is to really take this model and expand it. And we really work around specifically issues of racial and ethnic diversity in the Jewish community, but very much thinking about what the concept of a global Jewish identity is, and how can we expand that concept out. And I definitely have to take a moment to also recognize Gary, who is without, I mean, I really, really love Diane, but without Gary, I definitely wouldn't be in this room. And I think that for those of us who knew him personally, and I think even those of us who didn't, he really kind of pushed us to challenge ourselves. I think the last time that I saw him alive was in his living room with Rabbi Fanyay, and he was pushing us. And I think, you know, and he knew that that was an opportunity that he had to really continue to challenge us to do our best and to make some very real change. That I feel very proud of everybody who's sitting in this room, that we've all in our own ways worked on that. So with the work that we're doing, I mean, just a little bit more, and then this video, which we produced, I'm trying to think, I mean, it was produced in May, and then was finished shortly after Gary died, reflects just some of the work we're doing, some of the individuals that are involved, and some of the issues that are being talked about. But I think the last thing I want to say is that one of the things, if you haven't heard it before, you're hearing it from me, is that Lashon really supports a model of collaboration. And one of the things for myself in particular, that living in New York, which is what I consider a super oversaturated Jewish community, is we face kind of the challenge of, okay, so Lashon in New York, what does that mean? Am I going to like be the 6th event going out on like Blueprint or whatever that you know, listserv is that's going on a random Wednesday or Thursday evening, or what can we actually bring in a real way? And I think one of the things that we really bring is a collaborative model of reaching out to smaller niche organizations that are volunteer organizations and established professional organizations, and saying like, how can we bridge these gaps, and how can we create real community in New York and support organizations and individuals, etc. So that's something that I'm really proud of. It's something that I think we're expanding, and we hope to continue to expand around the country and around the world.